What's going on in the Eagle River real estate market? Are we going to see a collapse anytime soon? Are we seeing a softening up? Is this a good time for you to jump in as an investor and take advantage of some fire sales right now? Is this a good time to be a seller instead? Well, we're going to be answering some of those questions today in this real estate market update for Eagle River. We'll be looking at the residential, the condo, and the multifamily market just to make sure you have a good sense for what's going on really across the entire board. Before we get started though, do make sure you get this video liked, subscribe if you haven't done so already to receive more information like this in the future. And let's go ahead and jump into today's market update looking at Eagle River. Now, the first thing that I want to point out is that for the first time all year, we're actually seeing that there's actually more inventory available on the market than what we saw the year before. Now, this is a really welcome trend if you are looking to be a buyer anytime in the near future. Now, it isn't by much because there was 86 properties available this time last year in June. Now we see that there's about 91. So not a whole lot. That's like a five house difference. So it's not a whole lot, but it's the first time all year we're actually seeing more inventory than what we saw the year before. So that's a really welcome development, really on either side, because it's not good for the market long term to keep this really drastic supply shortage and for it to keep getting smaller and smaller. We do want to start seeing the availability of houses start to go up at kind of an increment level. So that's a welcome development. Really, no matter who you are, like it's not good for anybody, buyer or seller, if the status quo from the past couple of years just continues indefinitely. So, that's good. It's good for the overall health of the market. The next thing we see is that we saw one less property that sold in this market this time last year compared to this year. So last year there was 62 properties that sold, this year 61. So we're kind of just holding steady to about where we were the year before as far as that goes. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is what's going on in the average sold price. So you would think with the number of properties available on the market and the number of properties that have actually sold being about the same, that we would kind of stay more or less the same on the average sold price. Not so much. The average sold price this time last year was about $424,000. This year is about $457,000, which means we have a just over 10% increase for the average sold price. So that's obviously pretty big news. If you're a homeowner, that means that Eagle River is definitely seeing a big jump in the average sold price for properties here in this area, which is great for you if you're a homeowner, or if you're wanting to be a homeowner. That just means you can jump in and take advantage of the appreciation going up so quickly. And the next thing we're going to look at is what's going on as far as the condos in Eagle River. Now, condos have not historically been a huge part of the market here in Eagle River. Proportionally, it is becoming more and more prevalent though, because this time last year there were 16 condos available on the market actively, and now we're seeing that there are 11. So seeing a slight decrease proportionally. That's pretty big, but overall kind of a slight decrease from where we were the year before. The next thing that we're seeing is that despite the inventory going down, we're actually seeing that the number of condos that have actually closed went up slightly. This time last year there were 15, now there are 16 of these properties that have actually sold. So slight increase, not by much, but there's still a pretty healthy demand for condos here in Eagle River. Now, the next thing that we're seeing is the average sold price for condos has gone from about $266,000 this time this year to about $280,000 this time this year. So that's approximately a 5% increase from where we were the year before, which is pretty aggressive if you're looking at condos, because historically that asset class doesn't appreciate particularly fast. If you buy a condo, you're usually happy if it goes up just slightly or even just maintains where it is. So for condos, that's pretty aggressive. I think a lot of that probably has to do with the fact that condos that are going in are usually going to be of the brand new condo model. So they're going to cost a little bit more, but still good news if you're a condo owner here in Eagle River. Let's take a break here real quick. For those who've been watching for a while, you do know that I host a podcast called the Alaskan Journey Podcast, where I interview people who have recently moved up here to Alaska or have lived up here for years and talk about their experience of living up here and any tips and tricks they have about moving up here. So it's not just coming from me, it's coming from other people as well. So do make sure you go check that out in the description section down below. And make sure you take advantage of that tool that's available to you. Now, let's go ahead and talk about what's going on in the multifamily market. Now, in the multifamily market, we're seeing that there were 5 multifamily properties that were available this time last year. Now we're seeing 2. So not a whole lot of options available as far as multifamilies here in Eagle River go. And the reason for that is the cap rate is not particularly high, which means that this is more or less kind of the mailbox money area, where if you get a good property and you screen your tenants properly, you're usually not gonna have to spend a whole lot of time managing hands-on, taking care of a lot of crazy stuff, okay? You're not gonna make as much as you could in other areas, but you're also gonna have way less of a headache. So for that reason, Eagle River is pretty popular if you are wanting to get into the multifamily arena. Now, the next thing we see is this time last year, there were 3 multifamily properties that sold. This time, only one, which, makes sense. If you only have a couple properties available on the market, then one's probably about the best we can get. Now, the next thing we're seeing for the average sold price for multifamily properties here in Eagle River is the average sold price has gone up. So it was about $570,000 this time last year. Now we're seeing a lot closer to about $645,000, which, that's a pretty aggressive increase there. But before everyone gets too excited, let's keep in mind the average sold price includes everything from the little duplex all the way up the big commercial apartment building with 30 units in it. So it includes a lot, and it doesn't necessarily mean everybody's multifamily properties has gone up by that amount. I'm sure it has, and I'm sure it's been pretty healthy. I don't necessarily think across the board if you have a multifamily property it's gone up that much. Maybe, but it really just kind of depends. Let's go and get into the summary real quick. Now, on the residential side, like I said, we're actually starting to see more inventory pop up onto the market than we have seen from the year before, which is kind of healthy. We do want to start seeing more inventory slowly going up. We just don't want a huge drastic change where we're at the low inventory that we've had the past couple of years and then suddenly just a flood of inventory, like double or triple of what we currently have. I'm not really seeing a crash in the market like a lot of people have been projecting. You're going to see a lot of clickbait and a lot of people talking about generalities, leaving out the specific area that you're focusing on, which in my case is going to be South Central Alaska, and I'm not seeing a crash happening anytime here in the near future. On the residential side, I am expecting to start seeing kind of a slowing down of the rate of appreciation. So what that means is year over year, the average sold price is probably still going to be going up. It probably won't be going up as aggressively as it has in the previous years. Now, looking at the condo market, again, I'm not seeing a crash going on there anytime soon. I'm starting to see more newer condos coming onto the market than what we've seen before. And, that's good. Anytime we can get more housing here in Eagle River, that's always pretty welcome. Now, looking at the multifamily market, again, we've kind of talked about this before. This is going to be a pretty desirable area if you're a landlord, if you can get a property at a decent price. Okay, and this is kind of my word of warning for those of you who are investors. I am really not seeing, well, I'm not going to call anybody out, but just make sure when you're evaluating properties out there, they actually make sense on paper, okay? So it's not good enough to just say, hey, this is a multifamily property and it's Eagle River, therefore it's a good investment. No, absolutely not. Do your math, know what it is that you're looking at, and know what a success looks like to you. So I sure hope this has been useful for everybody. Make sure you give this video a like, leave a comment down below if you have any questions, and we'll see you next time.